In the mid-19th century, a Barcelonan bookseller decided to build a church in the new Eixample district, where the city was expanding after the demolition of the walls. This was to be an expiatory church, built by the people and for the people. A young architect made this undertaking his life's work, creating a project for an incomparable, innovative, monumental basilica. His name was Antoni Gaudí, and the church was the Sagrada Família. In 2010, 128 years after the first stone was laid, Pope Benedict XVI presided over the dedication of the Basilica of the Sagrada Família. What had begun as an ambitious dream had become reality, and the main goal behind the project, that the Sagrada Família should be solemnly devoted to worship, had been achieved.
La diada d'avui è santa, dedicata a Deo nostro Senyor, nos entristiu ni plureu, e il goig del Senyor sarà la vostra forza.
The ceremony is followed by huge audiences, both in Barcelona and around the world. Many appreciate for the first time the magnificence and originality of one of the largest Catholic churches ever built. The origins of the project go back to the mid-19th century, when Josep Maria Boccabella founded the Association of Devotees of St. Joseph and promoted the construction of an expiatory church dedicated to the Holy Family, to be financed by donations from the faithful. The architect Francesc de Paula Villar drew up the first plans. The first stone was laid on the 19th of March, 1882. A year later, the architect resigned and was replaced by Gaudí, who was just 31 years of age. The young architect aspired to build the perfect church. Thanks to a large donation, he was given permission to completely revise the whole project. Gaudí abandoned the plans for a neo-Gothic church and proposed an ambitious monumental project, an absolutely innovative building with 18 high towers. Aware that he would not live to see the church completed, Gaudí took a groundbreaking decision. Rather than building the naves horizontally, he would begin construction with the high vertical facade, the Nativity facade, the most attractive and joyful of all. And he prophesied that people will come from around the world to see what we're doing. Antoni Gaudí died suddenly in 1926. Work continued, and the towers on the Nativity facade were completed in 1930. In 1936, the Spanish Civil War broke out, and part of the church was damaged and burnt down. Gaudí's workshop, containing his models for the project, was wrecked. Over the difficult years that followed, the building was restored and the models were reconstructed. This was a period of crisis and controversy over whether the project should continue. However, the people continued to give alms, and work on the church proceeded. Time has shown us that Antoni Gaudí was right. Over the years, the Sagrada Família has become an emblem of Barcelona and an artistic and spiritual symbol of Catalonia. Millions of people from different cultures and creeds continue to be moved by the sheer size and beauty of this monument, its architecture, light and sculpture, as well as something rather more intangible. Gaudí had three sources of inspiration: the Bible, the liturgy, and nature. He wanted the Christian religion and architecture to become fused in this church, turning each nook and cranny in the basilica into a symbol of faith. The sun rises in Barcelona. The first rays of sun light up the Nativity facade, a huge crèche in which Mary, Joseph, and the newborn Jesus occupy the center. The three portals are dedicated to faith, hope, and in the center, charity, crowned by a cypress tree, symbol of eternity, hospitality, and God's love for us. On the opposite side, the Passion facade expresses in the most striking and austere way Christ's pain and sacrifice, to the point where he died on the cross for us. Facing the setting sun, this facade uses shade to achieve the harsh aspect that Gaudí sought to create in his architecture, and which the sculptor Josep Maria Subirachs completed. The Glory facade, which has still to be built, will be the main entrance to the Basilica and will represent the teachings of Christ that can lead us to happiness. Over the doorways rise the first towers, dedicated to the apostles, the lowest of the 18 that will finally crown the building. Gaudí designed these towers to be extraordinarily tall in order to represent the mystical symbol of the union between mankind and God. He wanted the temple to be visible from all points in the city. Height is also an essential element in the interior. The naves are like a great forest, inviting the faithful to prayer. The universal church is represented on the columns and high windows. Over the altar, visible from all points, are the Holy Trinity with Christ on the cross, the gifts of the Holy Spirit on the baldachin, and God the Father, symbolized by a mosaic in the apse skylight. On either side of the crossing are sculptures of Joseph and Mary, completing the Holy Family. Light enters profusely, diffused by the stained glass windows, the work of the master Joan Vilagrau, and through the skylights in the arches between columns. The various elements in the church are formed using geometric figures, whose development is complex: helicoids, double-twisted columns, hyperboloids, paraboloids, ellipsoids. This architecture has no precedent. However, building all this with its innovative architecture was no easy task. That is why Gaudí devoted more than 40 years of his life to establishing the basis for the Sagrada Família, even though he was aware that the architects who followed him would introduce innovations from each different period, just as he had done. In recent years, 3D technology and the latest developments in architecture and construction have enabled the technical team to ensure the feasibility of the project, and great efforts have been devoted to continuing the work that Gaudí designed in plans and modeled in plaster. And as ever, throughout all these years of construction, the church remains open to visitors. The works continue, coexisting with religious celebrations and city events, making the Sagrada Família a phenomenon in which everyone shares. The next few years will see the final stage completed in the construction of the Sagrada Família. The sacristies will be finished, as will the cloister around the church. The Tower of Mary will also be completed. The main facade, the Glory facade, will be built, as will the 4 towers of the evangelists that surround the Tower of Jesus. Crowned by a cross, the Tower of Jesus will reach a height of 172.5 meters, making the Sagrada Família one of the highest buildings in Barcelona. Accordingly, in 2026, the centenary of the death of Antoni Gaudí, it is forecast that the architectonic work will be completed. Five generations have grown up watching the construction of the Basilica of the Sagrada Família. Its stones have risen thanks to grains of sand that are the contributions and donations given by those who never cease to believe. The dream of raising a church made by the people and for the people is fast becoming reality. But the Sagrada Família is now a universal basilica of humanity and for humanity.